From the 50 countries in Europe, 32 have played in the World Cup. But how far has each national team ever gone? So in this video, we'll go through every country to see what was the best campaign of each one. I was impressed by how far some countries that we consider weak have gone. Starting with Portugal, that has already finished 3rd place. But not with Ronaldo. Instead, it was with Eusébio. Back in 1966, Portugal was a powerhouse, with Eusébio leading the squad. They were so strong that they won all group stage matches. Then they eliminated North Korea in the quarterfinals, believe it or not, and advanced to the semifinals against England. Portugal was ready to make it to the final. But England was the home team with legendary players. So by 2-1, Portugal's dream came to an end.
England are in the final of the World Cup.
But Portugal didn't give up. In the 3rd place match, they defeated the Soviet Union, finishing with their best World Cup campaign to date. Every country that finishes in the top 4 will be adding to this list. As the video progresses, you won't believe the countries that will show up here. Leaving Portugal behind, let's move to Spain, that until 2010 had never even reached the top 4 of the tournament. But with Iniesta, Xavi, Casillas and other legends, Spain won their first ever World Cup title, hence being their best campaign ever, 6 wins in 7 matches. Spain's in the top tier of the national teams. Next up, France, a country that won the title twice. But among these 2 victorious campaigns, the best one was in 1998. In that World Cup, playing on their home soil, France managed to have 6 wins in 7 matches, scoring 15 goals and conceding only 2. This team featuring Zidane, Henry and Deschamps was simply phenomenal. Continuing after France, we arrive at their neighbor Switzerland, a team that has played in the World Cup several times. So if we look at their highest ever final placement, it was a 6th place in 1950, but only 16 teams played that year. So their true best campaign happened in 2006. That year, Switzerland landed in a group with South Korea, Togo and Zidane's France. With those opponents, everyone expected them to qualify in 2nd place, but they didn't concede a single goal. Switzerland drew 0-0 with France and defeated the other 2 teams 2-0, finishing 1st. Then in the round of 16, they faced Ukraine, where once again Switzerland didn't concede any goals. But they also didn't score, so the match went to penalties, where this happened.
Розбігається, б'є і Шовковський рятує команду.
Score this one. Oh, he's missed it. And he saved it.
Switzerland was eliminated without conceding a single goal, finishing their World Cup in 10th place. In the end, the winner of that World Cup was Italy, securing their 4th title. But that wasn't Italy's best campaign ever. Their greatest campaign actually happened a while ago, in 1938. That year, the World Cup started from the round of 16, where Italy swept through their opponents, defeating Norway, the home team France, eliminated Brazil in the semifinals, and finally beat Hungary 4-2 in the final. With 4 wins in 4 matches, Italy had their best World Cup campaign to date, a 100% win record. Let's see what other national teams will show up in this top 4. Now after Italy, we arrive at their neighbors Slovenia. Well, together with other nations, they played the World Cup as Yugoslavia, but for this video we'll consider only their campaigns after the independence, the campaigns made in their current form. So under their own flag, Slovenia has played in the World Cup twice, with their best campaign in 2010, where they almost became a giant underdog. In a group with England, the US and Algeria, they started strongly, defeating Algeria and tying with the US. Slovenia was leading the group, but in the last match they lost to England and the US won their game as well. A perfect combination for them to get eliminated. A very disappointing result, finishing 18th in the overall ranking. Now let's move on to Slovenia's neighbor, a country with a much more successful World Cup history, Croatia. Croatia proved that nothing is impossible. In 2018, with Modric, Rakitic, Mandzukic and others, they won all group stage matches, including an impressive 3-0 win over Messi's Argentina. Then came the knockout stage, where they had one of the craziest campaigns ever. Croatia defeated Denmark on penalties, then the home team Russia on penalties as well, and faced England in the semi-final. Of course, they weren't favorites, but after a draw in regular time, Mandzukic did this.
Walker got there, so though did Perisic, Mandzukic!
Croatia hit the front!
By 2-1, Croatia reached the highest point in their history, the World Cup final. But against France, the dream came to an end. Even so, they finished with their best campaign ever. Not even the former Yugoslavia had gone that far. Croatia joins the list of the best World Cup countries. Spoiler alert, the next country will also show up here. It's a country that should have a World Cup title but doesn't. Hungary. Yeah, Hungary should have at least one star on their crest. Today, they are not that strong, but in 1954, they literally broke the record for the most goals ever scored in a single edition. That year, they had an incredible squad, featuring Ferenc Puskás and a revolutionary playing style. So Hungary dominated the group stage, defeating South Korea 9-0 and Germany by an incredible 8-3. Then in the knockout stage, they defeated Brazil 4-2, Uruguay, that was the current champion, by 4-2 as well, and in the final against Germany, they started off by leading 2-0. The trophy was in their hands. But then...
Ran und Tor! Deutschland stärkstes Aufgebot! Tor! Ran schießt! Tor!
In a completely shocking turn of events, Germany made a comeback, making it 3-2. Imagine the heartbreak. This is undoubtedly one of the most frustrating runners-up finishes ever. At least Hungary entered the list for the best World Cup campaigns. Continuing, let's go to a country with far less success. Bosnia. Bosnia has qualified for just one World Cup, in 2014. With players such as Dzeko and Pjanic, they even managed to secure a win, defeating Iran. But those 3 points didn't change their fate, as they had already lost to Argentina and Nigeria. So Bosnia was eliminated, finishing 20th place overall. Will they ever return to the World Cup? Next, we arrive in Serbia, a country that always enters the World Cup as a potential surprise, but every time ends up disappointing. To give you an idea, their best campaign was in 2010, when they were eliminated in the group stage. They lost to Ghana and Australia, but managed to defeat Germany. Believe it or not, they beat Germany but lost to weaker teams, finishing 23rd overall. To this day, they haven't done better than that. But while Serbia didn't go far, their neighbor Romania once became one of the biggest underdogs ever. In 1994, Romania qualified for the World Cup in the US, where they were drawn into a group with the home team. Despite this, they finished first, even defeating the United States. Then in the round of 16, Romania faced none other than Argentina, that even without Maradona was still a strong team. But Romania did what seemed impossible. With 2 goals from Dumitrescu, they won by 3-2. Who could have imagined? They were in the quarterfinals. So the next opponent was Sweden, a team Romania had good chance of beating. But after a draw, the match went to penalties. Romania was eliminated, but ended their World Cup with their best campaign ever, an impressive 6th place. Almost reached the top 4. But believe it or not, Romania wasn't the biggest underdog of that World Cup. In that same year, Bulgaria went even further. In 1994, Bulgaria had Stoichkov. In the group stage, they defeated Argentina. Yeah, Argentina wasn't in their best form. Then in the round of 16, they defeated Mexico on penalties and reached the quarterfinals. But now they were gonna face one of the biggest favorites, Germany, the reigning champions. But Bulgaria proved that nothing was impossible.
All right, Stoichkov. Oh, it's a goal! Turned by him. And Lechkov going in, and it's another one!
With a 2-1 victory, Bulgaria pulled off one of the greatest surprises ever. They eliminated Germany. Believe it or not, they advanced to the semi-final. But their luck ran out in the semis, because they faced the strong Italian team, so their journey came to an end. Then Bulgaria also lost the 3rd place playoff, finishing their World Cup in 4th place. So Bulgaria joins the top 4 group. That's surprising. Continuing, we arrive in Greece, that despite winning an UEFA Euro, only had their best World Cup campaign in 2014. 10 years after winning the Euros, Greece achieved a huge milestone for them, advancing past the group stage. Yeah, they had never done it before. Now they wanted to go even further, but their opponent was Costa Rica, the same Costa Rica who defeated Italy and Uruguay, so it seemed like the end for Greece, as they started losing 1-0. But in stoppage time,
Papastafopoulos lets him run, great save, there is
Greece equalized, taking it to penalties. But that's where Navas became a hero for Costa Rica. By 5-3 on penalties, Greece was eliminated, finishing with their best campaign ever, 13th place. But if Greece have never finished among the top 4, let's now go to their biggest rival Turkey, that came close to reaching the final. Yeah, to date, Turkey had played in just 2 World Cups, in 1954 being eliminated in the group stage and in 2002. That year it seemed like Turkey wouldn't make it out of the group stage, but they advanced on goal difference. They then defeated Japan in the round of 16 and Senegal in the quarterfinals. It was a different path, but nevertheless they reached the semi-finals. But after facing Japan and Senegal, in the semis they faced Brazil.
Ronaldo for Brazil. Oh, what do you say about that?
By 1-0, Turkey's journey came to an end. But in the 3rd place match, they defeated South Korea. So after not playing the World Cup for almost 50 years, Turkey shocked everyone, finishing 3rd place, joining the exclusive list of countries that have reached the podium in a World Cup. Moving on, we arrive at a country that is now literally banned, Russia. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Russia struggled, never managing to advance past the group stage. But in 2018, when they hosted the tournament, Russia began their campaign with a statement, thrashing Saudi Arabia 5-0. They also defeated Egypt, advancing to the round of 16. But in the round of 16, they faced Spain. Even so, Russia was brave, coming back from behind to force a draw, taking the game to penalties, where Russia didn't feel the pressure.
Cheryshev! Akinfeev saves! It is Russia's party, and the party goes on!
The home team advanced to the quarterfinals, where they had a chance to go even further, taking Croatia to penalties again. But this time,
Fernandez has dragged it horribly wide!
Russia was eliminated, finishing with their best campaign, 8th place. For them, it was a huge feat. But while Russia celebrated reaching the quarterfinals, their neighbor Ukraine had already achieved that feat 12 years earlier. Yeah, in 2006, in their only World Cup appearance, Ukraine had an impressive campaign. With Shevchenko there, Ukraine finished 2nd in their group and advanced to the round of 16, where they faced Switzerland. This was that Swiss team that hadn't conceded a single goal. It was a tough match, but Ukraine held them to a 0-0 draw to win on penalties. Ukraine advanced to the quarterfinals, but this time they faced the future champions, Italy, so there was no way past them. Ukraine was eliminated, finishing their World Cup in 8th place as well. Sadly, they haven't returned to the tournament since. Continuing, we arrive in Poland, a national team that today isn't that strong, but already came very close to reaching the final. In 1974, Poland found itself in a tough group with Argentina and Italy. For any team, this would be a giant challenge. But in a surprising turn of events, Poland won all group stage matches. Then they defeated Sweden and Yugoslavia, leaving them just 1 game away from the grand final. But Poland's next opponent was the home team, Germany. It was unfortunate to face the home team, who with a single goal from Gerd Müller defeated the Poles. Even so, Poland didn't let it bring them down. In the 3rd place playoff, they had yet another win, this time over Brazil. With 6 wins in 7 games, Poland finished their World Cup in 3rd place, a truly impressive campaign, entering the select list of countries that finished in the top 4. So, leaving Poland behind, we move on to Slovakia, a country that literally eliminated one of the biggest World Cup winners. In 2010, Slovakia fell into a group with Italy, the reigning champions. Then, in the last group stage match, the two faced off in a decisive match. Whoever won would advance to the round of 16. Just imagine how much more favorite Italy was. But Slovakia did this.
It's rolled in, and a chance! Oh, it's in! It's a decent one! It's lifted in! That's it! That is it!
By 3-2, Slovakia eliminated Italy, a giant underdog to reach the round of 16. But their next opponent was Robben's Netherlands, so the Dutch didn't allow any other surprise, ending Slovakia's journey in 16th place. Slovakia used to be part of Czechoslovakia, which had the golden years of their football. The same goes for Czechia. Since splitting from Slovakia, the Czech Republic has played in just one World Cup, in 2006, where they were drawn into a group with USA, Ghana and Italy. Expectations were high for them. To give you an idea, they had Peter Cech and Pavel Nedved, the 2003 Ballon d'Or winner. So they started strong, defeating the USA 3-0. But then the disappointment came. They lost to Ghana and then to Italy. With that, the Czechs were eliminated, finishing the World Cup in 20th place. Now another team that was once strong but struggles today is Austria. The Austrians haven't played in a World Cup for over 20 years, but there was a time they had a campaign worthy of the title. In 1954, the World Cup was held in their neighbor, Switzerland, so Austria went all in. They easily got past the group stage to reach the quarterfinals, where they faced the home team in a match that entered history. Switzerland started strong, making it 3-0, but Austria pulled off an incredible comeback to 5-3. Then Switzerland scored again, Austria made it 6-4, Switzerland got their fifth, and Austria scored another one. By an astonishing 7-5, the game ended with a record for the most goals scored in a single World Cup match. Austria advanced to the semi-finals, but this time they faced Germany, that just crushed them. But it wasn't over yet. In the third place playoff, they faced Uruguay, the reigning champions, and won again. So Austria finished their World Cup in third place, their best campaign ever. Most people wouldn't imagine Austria among the top 4. Let's see who else will show up here. Now, leaving Austria behind, we reach one of the greatest teams ever, the 4-time champion Germany. Germany boasts 4 titles, but among these victories, there's one campaign that stands out. Can you guess which one? Yeah, 2014. That year, Germany showed their full strength, going through the group stage with 2 wins, defeating Algeria in the round of 16 and France in the quarterfinals. Then they reached the semis. Where happened, you know what.
But they might have number 7 here now. They have got 7. It's hammered in.
7-1 against the home team. With that, Germany reached the final, where they had a tough match against Argentina. With Götze's late goal, they secured a 1-0 victory. With 6 wins and 1 draw, Germany delivered their best campaign ever. But then, after their best campaign, Germany had their very worst performance in the next edition, being eliminated in the group stage. No one saw that coming. But in the same year Germany had their worst World Cup, another team had their best campaign, Belgium. This was the peak of Belgium's golden generation. With De Bruyne, Hazard, Lukaku and others, they had a team ready to lift the title. They won all their group stage matches, including a victory over England. Then in the round of 16 they defeated Japan in a comeback, and in the quarterfinals defeated Brazil.
Belgium have pulled off one of the biggest, if not the biggest win in their history.
With that, Belgium reached the semi-finals. They were just one match away from the grand final. Boom City ended their dream. Even so, they still had a chance to take home a medal, defeating England to secure a historic 3rd place, joining other teams as bronze medal holders. If you think they were disappointed for not making it to the final, look at the celebration they had upon returning home. But while Belgium never reached the final, their neighbors, the Netherlands, did it 3 times. However, in every time they ended up as runners-up. But in 2010, they got to the final, literally winning every match. With Robben, Schneider, Van Persie, etc., they won every group stage match, defeated Slovakia in the round of 16 and overcame the underdog Uruguay to reach the final. Then in the final against Spain, Robben had the chance to finish it all.
It is Arjen Robben. Is this the moment for the Netherlands? Casillas saves Spain.
A huge miss, an error that ended up costing them everything, because in the last minutes of extra time, Iniesta scored a decisive goal. With 6 wins in 7 matches, the Netherlands finished with their best campaign ever. Yet once again, they were runners-up, staying beside Hungary and Croatia. At least the Netherlands have won an UEFA Euro, just like their neighbors, Denmark. Denmark won the Euros in '92. Then 6 years after that victory, they had the chance to go far in the World Cup. With players like Peter Schmeichel and Laudrup, Denmark made it past the group stage and crushed Nigeria in the round of 16. But their next opponent was Brazil, the reigning champions. Brazil was the clear favorite, but Denmark scored within the first few minutes. Then Brazil turned the game around, but in the second half,
Question we asked, is he going to on the clearance? Laudrup, goal! We are tied! Brian Laudrup!
Denmark scored another one. They were putting up a huge fight. But then Rivaldo scored a third, sealing Denmark's elimination. With that, the Danes finished in 8th place, their best campaign to date. Moving a bit further north, we reach another Nordic country, Sweden, which in 1994 managed to finish 3rd place. But believe it or not, they have done even better than that. Back in 1958, Sweden hosted the World Cup, so the expectations were high. They were indeed very strong, eliminating Lev Yashin's Soviet Union and defeating Germany in the semi-final. Sweden seemed destined to win the title. But there was one small problem. Pele's Brazil. By 5-2, that historic Swedish campaign ended with a silver medal, joining the group of countries that reached the World Cup final but never won. Sweden came close to having a star on their crest. Now let's talk about Sweden's neighbor, the country of Erling Haaland. If you don't remember Norway in a World Cup, it's because their last appearance was in 1998. They were placed in a group with Morocco, Scotland and Brazil, but they didn't start well, drawing their first 2 matches. So to qualify, they needed to beat Brazil, the reigning champions. It seemed like an impossible task, especially after conceding a goal in the second half. But suddenly,
Flo in a trial of strength with Junior Baiano! It's wrecked up. It's 2-1 to Norway, an extraordinary turnaround.
with an incredible comeback, Norway defeated Brazil. A victory so shocking it deserved a trophy of its own. Both Norway and Brazil advanced, but in the round of 16 there was another massive challenge: Italy. After beating the current champions, they were gonna face the current runners-up. But this time, Norway couldn't pull off another win, finishing their World Cup in 15th place. Leaving Norway behind, we arrive at another Nordic country, Iceland, a country that holds the record for the smallest population to ever qualify. They literally have less than 400,000 inhabitants, almost 7 times as less as Brooklyn, New York. But even with such a small population, they made it to the World Cup in 2018 with huge expectations. After all, they had just made an impressive UEFA Euro campaign, so they started strong, drawing their first game against Messi's Argentina. But then came the cold shower. They lost to Nigeria and Croatia, sealing their elimination, finishing 28th overall. Honestly, just for them making it to the World Cup was already impressive. But perhaps even more impressive was a team that reached the quarterfinals without winning a single match. Yeah, after Iceland, let's move on to Ireland, a country that haven't played in the World Cup for quite some time. But in 1990, they pulled off a surprising campaign. Falling in a group with England, the Netherlands and Egypt, they literally drew every match. Yet they managed to advance. Then in the round of 16, they faced Romania, and again it was a draw. This time, the match went to penalties. Ireland made it to the quarterfinals, reaching their highest point ever. But they had to face Italy, so this time no draw. They lost 1-0, finishing the World Cup in 8th place. It's also worth mentioning their 2002 campaign, where they played well, winning 1 match and drawing 3, but they were eliminated in the round of 16. So next to Ireland, we arrive in Northern Ireland, which also made an impressive campaign, but it was quite a long time ago. In 1958, Northern Ireland went to the World Cup and was placed in a tough group: Germany, Argentina and Czechoslovakia. Most thought they would surely be eliminated. But in the first match, the first surprise, they defeated Czechoslovakia. However, they lost to Argentina, so everything depended on their match against Germany. They just couldn't lose. But once again, Northern Ireland shocked everyone by holding the Germans to a draw. After 3 matches, they ended up tied in points with Czechoslovakia. But back then, there was no tiebreaker, so they had to play a playoff match. This is where Northern Ireland showed their strength. They defeated the Czechs, advancing to the quarterfinals. Northern Ireland proved they could go even further. Expectations were high, but against France, a 4-0 loss. Still, they finished 8th place overall, a historic campaign. Still in UK, we arrive in Scotland, a country that hasn't appeared in the World Cup for over 20 years. Even though it's disappointing for them to not make it to the tournament, it's even more disappointing when they do play, cause literally every time Scotland was eliminated in the group stage. Even so, there was one year they almost advanced, in 1974. That year they were placed in a group with Zaire, now Congo, Yugoslavia and Brazil. It was a tough group, but Scotland was ready. They won their first match against Zaire, drew with Yugoslavia and even managed to draw with Brazil. They weren't defeated by anyone. But due to goal difference, Scotland ended up in third in the group, being eliminated. That was disappointing. Leaving Scotland, we move on to Wales, that in 2022 played it for the second time in their history. But even with players like Bale, they couldn't surpass the feats of their first campaign, in 1958. That year, Wales was placed in a group with the current runner-up Hungary, Mexico and that strong Sweden we've seen before. A tough group. Yet surprisingly, they didn't lose a single match. Wales drew all their games, ending up tied on points with Hungary. And since there were no tiebreakers, they had to play a playoff. Remember, Hungary was the current runner-up. But Wales shocked everyone again. After trailing 1-0, they turned it around to 2-1. Yeah, they eliminated Hungary. Now in the knockout stage, Wales wanted to go even further. But they faced Brazil, with Pelé scoring the only goal of the match. So Wales was eliminated, but still finished 5th place in the World Cup, 6 places ahead of England. Even though they invented the sport, the English were always frustrated in the World Cup, especially seeing countries like Wales performing better than them. But 8 years later, England rose from the ashes. Hosting the World Cup, they topped the group with Uruguay, Mexico and France. Then they advanced to the quarterfinals, defeated Argentina, followed by Eusébio's Portugal, and finally faced Germany in a tough battle. Germany scored first, then England turned the game around, but in the 89th minute, Germany equalized. The match went into extra time, where Hurst scored one of the most controversial goals of all time. The ball clearly didn't cross the line, but the linesman said it did. 3-2. Then Hurst sealed the deal with another goal. With 5 wins and 1 draw, England lifted their only World Cup trophy. So this was the best campaign of each European country in the World Cup. Which one do you think was the most surprising? And if you enjoyed this video, I think you're gonna like this one too. Thanks for watching and bye.